Good morning, everyone. All of us have gathered here today to hear some exceptional things about what's happening in sustainable solutions in the textile value chain. Today's a great day. The sun is out, and we are here to recap and get to know a lot more new things that's happening. My name is Nain Siao, and I am a design academician, as well as somebody who's really interested in sustainability. I'm also a member of NISTI. So here comes NISTI presents Innovative Sustainable Solutions in Textile Value Chain. Before we proceed, let me invite, okay, I can see Dr. Vijay Yadav is busy with something else. So I'm going to first introduce the webinar to you and perhaps invite Dr. Yadav a little later to give us some information about what NISTI does. So today's webinar is about the sustainable solutions. Sustainability has been a groping challenge for the textile and apparel supply chain for more than a decade, even in India. And the industry value chain from seed to shop has delved into understanding and implementing sustainability solutions with a lot of intent and heavy enthusiasm. Though over the years, it seems that the enthusiasm is either stagnated or has not been celebrated because of want of success stories. Globally, with pressure of meeting the requirements of the Sustainable Development Goals, the industry understands its relevance to the future of textiles. So what has been the progress since then? This webinar intends to present 3 successful case studies in implementation and application of sustainability across the value chain and its outcomes so far. Such successes are intended to encourage continued effort in the direction of sustainable application in research, design, manufacturing, retail, presented by representative experts and practitioners who have experienced it firsthand. So let me invite now Dr. Vijay Yadav to give some small background in NISTI for our viewers today. Dr. Yadav, would you be able to? All right. In the meantime, before we begin, Dr. Yadav,
yes,
please.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Professor Nain, for giving a broad outline of the program. North India section of the Textile Institute, which we call NISTI, it was established in 1989 to promote professionalism in all areas associated with the textile industries worldwide. It brings together the professionals from North India in setting the professional standards, a learned society advancing knowledge and industrial practices, an interactive network for the exchange of ideas, and a social community promoting friendship among the members. The members of NISTI possess professional expertise, diversely covering ancillary areas of management, art, design, economics, education, engineering, fashion, sustainability technology, and training, etc., etc. NISTI also works for finding professional talent for the textile industries, infusing textile education and training among the young professionals, recognizing excellence of their industrial academic organizations, and also promotes knowledge through publications, conferences, and electronic networking. NISTI was formally inaugurated on 24th of May 1989 at IIT Delhi, and it was led by the past presidents of TI, Mr. R.M. Godal, and the late Dr. J.K. Nigam, who was the founding president of NISTI. Since then, NISTI has brought many webinars and the conferences for the benefit of the industry, and was instrumental in connecting academia with the industry. Lately, in the year 2007, NISTI was transformed into an association of persons and it was registered as a society. In the past 1 year, I am glad to inform that NISTI has organized 6 webinars at the national as well as at the international arena, and it was well received by the audience. And I hope the webinar today will also be interesting to the large community of students and the textile professionals. Thank you very much. Over to Professor Nain.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav. Before we begin, may I request all the participants to put down your questions as the presentations are being done, and we will take them up later. Put down your questions in the chat box. We'll take it up after the presentations are over. Okay, our first speaker, Mr. Sreedhar PR, would be speaking on sustainability at KG Fabriks. A small introduction. He's been responsible for the denim fabric division at KG Fabriks, which is a division of Sri Kannapriyan Mills Limited. Mr. Sreedhar, welcome to the further presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good morning to everybody. Let me go straight away to share the screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Yes, we are.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, a brief introduction of who we are. We are situated in Coimbatore. KG Fabriks is a division of Sri Kannapriyan Mills Limited. We have a distributed manufacturing setup. We produce 80 tons of yarn per day. We have one denim fabric division, which is KG Fabriks, manufacturing 20 million meters of fabrics per annum, and also a gloves manufacturing unit having 40,000 pairs of production per day. A snapshot of our factory here, 60 kilometers away from the Coimbatore airport. It has a built up area of 20% and it's a green belt planted with trees. What makes KG Fabriks different from others? We say we are manufacturers of true sustainable denim. And why do we say so? KG Fabriks is India's first Green Co gold rated company by the CII Saurabh Godrej Green Business Center in the textile processing and weaving sector. This means all our manufacturing processes are rated as sustainable. The Green Co rating system is assessed on different parameters: energy efficiency, water conservation, renewable energy, greenhouse gas reduction, waste management, material conservation recycling, recyclables, green supply chain, product stewardship and life cycle assessment, innovation for environment, green infrastructure and ecology. Also, all products manufactured at KG Fabriks are green products certified by Green Pro. Now, what is Green Pro certification? Green Pro is a product certification by the CII Business Center, a mark of guarantee that the product is environment friendly throughout its life cycle. Now, Green Pro Eco Label is accredited by the Global Eco Labeling Network, and there is a mutual recognition of 34 eco labels across 60 countries. So, based on the Green Co and Green Pro certification, not only are our manufacturing processes sustainable, all our products produced therein are sustainable too. Let us look at some other features that differentiates KG Fabriks from the rest. At KG Fabriks, every day is Earth Day. All the yarns produced at all our other locations are also Green Pro certified. We have 100% utilization of raw materials. Cotton, 93.5% is converted into yarn, and the balance 6.5% waste, such as cotton dust and seed coats, is used for soil enrichment and water retention in agriculture. Of the yarn that is produced, 92% goes into denim fabrics and yarn sales, 4% to the industrial fabric division, 1% for the gloves division, 3% waste that is generated in long and short waste is sold for cow harness thread, and we recycle 2% of the cotton selvage waste and use it for gloves manufacturing. Thus, it's a nothing is wasted situation. We use, over the last 1 year, we have used over 51% of sustainable fibers, post-consumer waste, post-industrial waste and byproducts, PET bottle recycled polyester, FSC certified viscose, organic, and BCI cotton. We are a zero liquid discharge and a zero solid discharge plant. Even the ETP sludge, a hazardous waste, is sent to the cement plant through an authorized recycler. We use a micron dyeing process. We have a proprietary technology called iWash and iTop, where we get 80 to 90% dye uptake as compared to an industry average where the dye uptake is around 65 to 70%. Thus, less indigo is used using optimum utilization. We have a smart water process where we use less than 15 liters of water per kilogram of denim fabric manufactured, perhaps the lowest usage to make a meter of denim fabric. In fact, the amount of water saved by us every day is sufficient to meet the drinking water needs of any city having a population of over 8 lakh people. That has led us to have we are the winners of the National Water Award in 2018 by the Government of India and Excellence in Water Management in the year 2019. We are always increasing the use of renewable energy. Today, we use about 60% of our energy is from renewable energy, whether it is from solar, wind, or biomass. Better chemical management goes without saying. We are ZDHC level 1 compliant. We use more than 80% recycled caustic in our processes. Purchase of GOT certified chemicals and low hazardous chemicals wherever possible is given a priority, and we use biodegradable sizing agents. Our Higgs FEM rating on environmental sustainability performance is 84%. And wherever we use packing materials in spinning, we reuse all these packing materials, whether it is stretch films, cones, and pallets, and 80% of our packing material is biodegradable. We are one of the signatories to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's Jeans Redesign Program, committed to manufacture denim fabric in accordance with the principles of circular economy. Guidelines for denim fabric manufacturers are suggested, and all the norms are met by us. KG Fabriks markets denim fabrics under 3 registered brands. Now, these are registered brands of KG Fabriks. Green Denim is our true sustainable denim, where all my products are green denim products. On top of this is super sustainable denim, which is called Product Zero, where post-consumer waste cotton and post-consumer waste polyester is available. Nature's Blue is the most sustainable denim, where KG Fabriks has, for the first time in the world, machine dyed natural plant-based indigo onto the denim fabric. These are other process requirements which we pass on to the garmenter as per the requirement, whether it is GOTS, BCI, OCS, GRS, RCS, or Ecotex, to name a few. Sustainability is not just about environmentalism, it's also about social equity and economic development. People are the most important resource. Our Higgs FSLM rating is 93.4% on the social and labor module. We are a great place to work certified. We are building a high trust, high performance culture. We are happy to say that we secured grade A in the Inditex social audit, another assessment of our benchmark for social responsibility. We have created multiple centers of excellence in training across locations, whether it is the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana or 2-year Flexi ITI programs at 2 of our locations, or a diploma of vocation, that is DVOC, at one location giving diploma in manufacturing technology. Over 2,500 people have been enrolled and trained in this. Finally, I would like to sum up by saying Sustainability is not a choice, it's a responsibility. Sustainability is like meditation and it should come from within. Thank you all. Thank you for the time. Thank you.
You have to unmute yourself, Nain.
Professor Nain, please unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Sreedhar. That was really interesting. We will be summing up at the end of all the presentations. But in the meantime, thank you very much for the insight into what your organizations are doing. I'll request all the participating members over here to please note down all the unique features being cited by the presenters about what they are doing specifically in their industry. And those are the questions which would, I'm sure, be answered more in detail after this. So let me go to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Mr. Gaurav Agarwal. He is the Assistant General Manager at Aditya Birla Group, specifically in Birla Cellulose. His topic is collaboration across the fashion value chain to upscale circular business model. Mr. Agarwal, the floor is yours. Mr. Agarwal.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just putting the presentation in the PPT mode. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to NISTI and the team for arranging this webinar. I am Gaurav Agarwal from Grasim Industries, and our umbrella brand is Birla Cellulose. I don't know how to. Anyways, so can you help to remove this one? So I will be speaking on the collaboration that we have done to upskill and trying to build a circular business model. To start with, I will be speaking on one of our product, which is Lever Reviver, and how we have developed and its impacts across the value chain. Further, how we are building partnerships with other organizations for this circular business model. So to start with, we have a major challenge in terms of textile waste, which is being generated, and it is estimated that only 1% or less than 1% is being recycled. The rest is being landfilled or getting incinerated. Secondly, we have an issue of a long textile value chain, and most of part of it is being opaque in nature. So once the fiber goes out from the factory, it goes to the spinner and weaver. So there's a long value chain in textile industry, and most of it is opaque to the last part of the value chain, say consumer or retailer. So we have done two innovations together of developing a circular fiber and developing a blockchain technology for the traceability of the fiber. So what we have done is we have taken the pre-consumer waste from the textile value chain, and which is being treated and being used as an input feed material for our next generation fiber, which is Lever Reviver. So what we are doing is basically we are replacing 20% of the pulp which comes from wood, as viscose fiber is made from wood or the trees, and what we are trying to do is replacing 20% of that wood pulp with a pre-consumer waste. So though it's simple value chain, but this was an uphill task because One is to develop a fiber which do not which has the similar properties of the virgin fiber, then to establish a reverse logistics of the supply chain to get that desired waste for the fiber, then to develop the traceability and to scale up the commercial production in collaboration with the value chain partners and the global fashion brands. So this is a small kind of innovation that we have done in order to bring the linear value chain to a circular supply chain. What is the uniqueness of this innovation? As India is a fiber cotton dominated country, hence a lot of cellulosic waste is available, which can be converted or used as a feedstock for making viscose fiber. It's innovation in bringing supply chain together, because arranging for reverse logistics of the waste is a major challenge. Then compatibility is one of the key reasons, because what we are doing is we are converting cellulose to cellulose, and the best thing is that the performance of the product is at par with the virgin product. So how Lever Reviver has helped us in business value creation? We have collaborated with some of the global brands and retailers, including biggest names such as H&M, Walmart, M&S. We are working with value chain partners across the regions, and we are also working on several consortium projects. We have collaborated with Fashion for Good, and currently we are having 2-3 projects. One of them is a full circle textile project, where we are working on evaluating technologies of pulp makers and how we can support them in converting into fiber and in turn in the garments. And we have aggressive goals to ramp up our capacity to 100,000 tons by 2024, which currently we are, which is only at about 100 tons as of now, and also to increase the recycled content up to 50% by 2025, which is currently at 20%. We are slowly moving it to 30%. Then the impact of the initiative basis on the life cycle assessment, the water consumption is lower by 67%, global warming is lesser by 26%, and eutrophication by 60%. And going forward, we see some major changes in this also, when we will be making this on our bigger lines with a very improved technical parameters. And how this has disrupted the supply chain is, we are replacing pulp with textile waste. We are giving a green track solution for traceability, and we are upscaling waste, which otherwise is going as a waste or going for some inferior applications. So what we have learned is that circularity is a collaborative effort across the value chain, and value chain needs to be engaged at all stages. We have given the training and capabilities sessions for building the capability across the value chain. It also leads to new jobs creation and reduces environmental impacts. So as I said, we are working on a full circle textile project, which is working with Fashion for Good. So our role is as a supply chain partner. We are evaluating technologies by some of the innovators who are working on making the pulp, and we are working with value chain partners and brands to develop some of those garments from this fiber. And the project is almost at a completion stage as of now. So Lever Reviver is also aligned with our long-term sustainability strategy. We have a 5-pillar sustainability strategy, starting from responsible sourcing, manufacturing, products, partnerships, and social responsibility. So in responsible sourcing, we are ranked globally #1 in sustainable sourcing, because wood as a major raw material which come from forest is being taken as a very serious issue, and all our raw material comes from certified forest. We are ranked one by global NGO Canopy, working in this space for the forestry conservation. In manufacturing, we apply closed loop processes. Our FEM score is around 93%, and we apply world-class European norms and with best available technologies in order to recover most of our raw material. Invaluable partnership, as I said, we are building a platform of named as Green Track for the complete traceability. We are also working on with our value chain, downstream value chain, through our LEVA accredited partner forum for the development of viscose value chain. Social responsibility has been a key pillar, and we are working in various initiatives, which is again a 5-pillar, 5 focus areas of sustainable livelihood, education, healthcare. So for Birla Cellulose, for us, sustainability is a way of life. In case if we have 1 or 2 minutes, I can show a small video on Liver Reviver.
You know that the planet needs a lot of love and care today, and the fashion industry can play a big role in it, because the textile waste generated has grown by 95% over the last decade. As a brand at the forefront of sustainable fashion, we understand the difference we can make today for a better tomorrow. We have come up with yet another eco-friendly innovation, Liva Reviver. Liva Reviver is recycled viscose fiber made by using pre-consumer textile waste and wood pulp from sustainable forests. It is made with processes that are sensitive to the environment. And to ensure that you know that we are doing what we are promising, we use the latest blockchain technology to help you track the complete process of sustainability. Just scan the unique QR code on the tag of any Liva Reviver garment and trace the journey of the product from plantation to garment with data at each stage of the value chain, so that you can verify our claim at any stage, at any given point of time, and be assured that your favorite garment is also nature's favorite. It is the only traceability system that maps the plantation to garment journey and the reverse journey of the value chain to help buying houses and brands make an informed choice. Liva Reviver.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav Agarwal. Regret this video was not visible, but we could hear the audio, of course. Thank you. This was very informative. I'm sure with both the presentations so far, there are a lot of questions which are going to be upcoming. So let's wait for that. In the meantime, let's invite Mr. Manish Bharati for the next presentation. 1 minute. So Mr. Manish Bharati is the Business Director, Garmenting, and Head International Business at Raymond Limited. Mr. Bharati's topic is sustainability at Raymond. May I invite you, Mr. Bharati?
Yeah, thank you. So just wanted to see, this is visible, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just a quick introduction that Raymond actually is part of the entire value chain from apparel, textile to garment production. We have total 13 different manufacturing units in 4 different states of India and 1 unit in Ethiopia in Africa. So we have 4 garmenting units in Bangalore and 1 in Ethiopia. And I'll try and focus more quickly on the garmenting aspect, considering the fact that my previous speakers have spoken a bit on the textile part already. So this is actually the framework under which we operate, what we call the ESG framework. And you know, this is a corporate initiative And there are certain guidelines that we have laid out considering the fact that we are a listed company. So our goals are very clearly defined that if we look at the environmental aspect, we want to be 100% sustainable packaging in textile and 50% in apparel by 2025. We are currently at 10% in textiles and 13% in apparel at the base year of year 21. We want to use 30% of renewable energy by 2025, baseline 6% in year 20. 20% sustainable raw materials by 2025, 50% less in freshwater withdrawal intensity. On the social side, we want to be 100% on the fair wage, 3 million hours of tailor training by 2025, and 3 million garments to be donated for deprived communities by 2025. On the governance, the goal is to actually go up to 30% of women in leadership positions. And of course, publishing, we follow global reporting initiative-based sustainability reports, regular board and committee oversight reports. This is now focusing on these initiatives that we are undertaking at the Silver Spark Apparel, which is our garmenting unit in Bangalore. Of course, we follow the entire, the workflow, which I will skip. Everybody fairly knows about it. Now, this is an important slide to a little bit talk about, what are the things that we are focusing on. Look at on the environmental side, we are focusing on renewable energy substitution, energy and fuel conservation. Then there is a 3R, which is reuse, reduce, and recycle, water and effluent management, raw material and waste management. On the social side, of course, we are focusing on the community and the employee safety. On the economical side, we are looking at business sustainability and business ethics.
Mr. Bharati, can you make the screen make it full screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So on the renewable energy substitution, of course, solar usage of solar power instead of fossil generated power. 92% of the total power consumption is through the solar energy, and 78% of total solar energy is used from PPA through third party, while 14% is through rooftop solar energy devices that we have installed. Then renewable energy substitution, daylight harvesting, replacement of soiled FRP sheets with the new FRP sheets, projects that we have in pipeline, replacement of FRP sheets with arc dome skylights to maximize daylight efficiency. This capitalizes on the ability to utilize 30% more light collecting surface area. Another example of renewable energy substitution, daylight harvesting, is 100% naturalized used in the canteen area. The canteen is designed on the principle of sustainable architecture. There's sufficient light with proper ventilation. Another area is the usage of biofuel, so replacement of fossil fuel with biomass briquettes, which are made from agriculture waste for boilers. Biomass briquettes are a renewable source of energy and avoid adding fused fossil carbon to the atmosphere. On the energy and fuel conservation, there is LEDs, single tube light fittings, and installation of manual conveyors, replacing pneumatic conveyors with manual as they take less or no energy. Then there is an energy monitoring system for online monitoring system connected across load centers, 20 multifunction energy meters, real-time monitoring, demand management, energy consumption reports, customized data analysis, and history. Then there's an installation of the express line, installation of direct power supply connected from the distribution point to the Silver Spark. So there's uninterrupted power supply. Then, of course, there are regular power quality audits, thermography audits, and compressed air leakage, that we evaluate on a regular basis. This is again focusing on reduce, reuse, and recycle, which is digitizing, leaning towards paperless organization. One example is cut panel inspection. Pattern used for inspection of cut parts is replaced with digital projector linked with CAD. Tablets are used in place of printed laying report, which is directly linked with CAD department. Then recycling of corrugated carton boxes, paper rolls, plastic, and chindi, collection of various weights from different departments, collected waste power, paper rolls, and carton boxes, works on the principle of circular economy. This is on the water and the effluent management, similar to what other speakers have spoken, so I'll just skip it. And then this is something on the sanitary napkin incinerator. And then there are certain few projects that we have in pipeline, including the food waste management. Then these are some of the CSR initiatives, installation of RO plant in the rural villages, distribution of books and uniform underprivileged students, provided traffic barricades, provided sanitary napkins at the subsidized rate to the people, and few other initiatives. These are some of the things on the employee and safety to make it more sustainable. First aid training, usage of PPE, crash, COVID-19, of course, is now hopefully over, and then few other regular camps. Now on the business sustainability, it's important that we look at how we are transitioning our business from bulk manufacturing to MTM, which is made to measure and hybrid business model, using more of virtual sampling and 3D fit. So we cut down on the physical samples, automation, industry 4.0, digitization, process standardization, value stream, optimum usage of space for setup of new lines so that we conserve space, work in progress reduction using just in time, Kanban system, throughput time reduction, lead time, inventory, and continuous improvement. And the other things are the business sustainability, the lead certification, and tie up on the sustainability areas. Process sustainability to sustain the process following various assessing tools for process confirmation audit, 5S internal assessment, various different tools being employed. People sustainability, I think this is very important because we are in a people business. So we look at quarterly grade change of operators, monthly team incentives, monthly individual attendance incentives, referral code scheme for operators, large scale interactive program, quality circles, summer camps, 21 days training program, employee committees, organizational health survey, monthly performance, training development, and birthday celebrations. And these are some of the things on the business ethics side as part of the overall ESG is the minimum wages and benefits, compliance with laws, maximum working hours, no forced labor, no child labor, no discrimination, safe and healthy work environment, and no corporal punishment. So those were related to garmenting. And then, of course, this is related to luxury cotton that we have factory in Kolhapur. These are some of the emission controls and goals that we have as spoken by previous speakers. Just skipping some of these slides. And this is part towards sustainable product, organic cotton, sustainable and fair trade yarn, zero formaldehyde, and recycled polyester. Presenting an eco-friendly packing of for keeping sustainability in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manish Bharati. I could see there was so much to talk about, but unfortunately, because of the time limitation, you had to rush through some of the areas. However, now it's time for to bring in our discussants. I'm going to invite two members from NISTI who have a lot of questions already. I can see that. And so let me introduce the two discussants who are going to be, their aim is to really carry forward this topics that you have presented to us, to get more clarification perhaps, to bring focus on some of these unique features that each one of you have described. So, and I hope that is going to bring about a little better understanding for our participants. It's going to create more thoughts and ideas, and take forward this future for sustainability practices further into what we all as professionals are doing. So let me invite Dr. Dali Koshi and Dr. Vinod Shanbag as discussants. A small introduction about Dr. Dali Koshi. He's the chairman at NISTI, the North India section of the Textile Institute. Also, he's an educationist, a strategist, and author, of course. He has been in the past Director General and CEO at Apparel Training and Design Center, as well as Director and Governing Council member, NID, National Institute of Design. I mention this because I think the presence and thinking on design is really important here too. Our next discussant is Dr. Vinod Shanbag. He has been in the past chairman at NISTI, North India section of the Textile Institute. And at present, he is the chairman, Academic Standards and Quality Assurance at UID, Karnataka University. He's also been formerly academic advisor at Pearl Academy, Delhi. Sirs, I throw the floor open to you, and may I invite Dr. Shanbag to start off with the questions or any points of suggestion you may have.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nain. Am I audible in the first place?
There's an echo, sir. Is there something which could, do you have two systems on?
Yeah, I think so.
You may have to mute one of them.
Okay, I'll do that. So, is it okay now? Is it okay now?
No, it's still echoing.
Well, there's only one device on, but that's the way it is.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Is it better now?
Not really, Dr. Shanbag. Would you be able to get that rectified in the meantime? If I can invite Dr. Koshi to start off the conversation, please.
I'll come in.
Yes.
Yeah, Nian, you want me to come in?
Yes, please, because I think Dr. Shanbag is going to get that
Oh,
sorted
okay,
out.
right. Nian, first of all, my best compliments and my felicitations to you for thinking deeply on the subject and putting together such a very erudite and experienced professionals to speak on the subject. And also my felicitations to Sreedhar ji, whom I met in the dry run, and also Gaurav. And I saw him in LinkedIn also to see the excellent work he's doing. And Manish, of course, I'm very proud. I don't know whether he is proud, but I am very proud that he is the, I would say my student from the third batch of GMT in, NIFT, and so proud of his achievement. So very happy to be there, and my colleague Vinod and others are here. So just two comments before I ask a question to Manish. One is that when the Millennium Goals sort of wound up in 2015, and the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals started and then set a target till 2030. And we are now in 2022. And in 2018, if I remember, Raymond must have been also part of it. There was a statement by the United Nations representative when this Sustainability Revolution platform was launched by the LACME IMG Reliance, the CMAI, and about 16 brands with an outlay of 30,000 crore, or market cap of 30,000 crore. And one of the statements made by the UN representative in that August function, when Madam Smriti Irani launched this initiative, it is called SU.RE, Sustainable Revolution. The UN representative said a very interesting statement that any discussion on future of design should be about design with a future. So I thought this statement was very interesting because a design with a future can only be there if there is a demand-driven system which also believes in sustainability. Now, that is where, the issues, some of the companies like what we heard, these excellent presentations, are taking good steps and excellent initiatives. But whether the consumers are really moving in that direction. In 2018 survey, before the launch of SURE, there was a statement that the consumers have placed sustainability in the 4th rank in terms of the factors which influence them. Now, I do not know whether there is any further studies and whether the sustainability dimension has moved to the next level. So this is a question and a kind of statement addressed to Manish Bharati because of his long experience even before in Li and Fung and creating systems towards sustainability in a global context, and also in the new assignment in Raymond's, how he is, translating some of these ideas. The small second part of this is more to do with, the the old story, which all of you know, but I am always, never wanting to miss the story whenever we discuss sustainability. That is about Gautam Buddha's story. When a disciple came up to him and asked him, can I have a new robe? And he said that, okay, I'll come to your room. And meanwhile, he arranged a new robe. And then he went to his room. He asked, what did you do with the old robe? That I am using it as a bed sheet. So what did you do with the bed sheet? They said, I'm using it as a curtain. What did you do with the old curtain? We are now using it for holding very hot, kettles in kitchen. So what did you do with that cloth which you were using earlier? They said, I'm using it as a mopping rug. What are you using with the mopping rug? They said, I'm using for wicks, 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 oil lamp which you are using in your at home. So this is in summary the sustainability dimension which we are talking about. But this is the culture of India. And unfortunately, the leadership which we need to take in this context seems to have been sort of missed out. Second part of the question, therefore, to Manish and to other panelists is that whether this, incremental steps which companies are taking can be converted to a more overarching leadership initiative. So these are the two statements and two questions. Anybody can answer, but this was in my mind when Manish's name was seen in this.
Right. No, thank you, Dr. Kochi, for your, it's always a pleasure and being my teacher, guide, and mentor. So I'm really grateful to Dr. Kochi. Now, coming to the question, the point raised, Dr. Kochi, that today what's happening is that if you really look at, I think the first question on the importance of sustainability in the minds of consumer, if I were to put that in perspective, today a lot of things have changed. One of the examples that I can give is that currently my daughter, just giving a perspective, my daughter is engaged in a startup which is creating sustainable cosmetics. And there are many other companies today there are new startups which have come in purely from a consumer segment where a fascinating valuation and the rewards have been given by the investors, and which is a strong testimony to the fact that these startups which are in the sustainable clothing or cosmetics or lifestyle products have seen a substantial amount of increase in the valuation. And also let's look at some of the DTC, direct to consumer today. There is a clear case in terms of how the consumer preference is being looked at. Previously, it used to be all about the brands. Now things have changed. People want to look at product, style, then price, and few other things. So when they are looking at product, they're already, the next generation is very clearly looking at how the products are being created. And I think there's a premium that is being paid by the consumer, especially the millennials and the young consumers probably recognize it much, much more than anybody else. So I hope it gives a little sense of the importance that consumer is starting to do that. The another international example that I can quote is the Inditex group. The Zara group has actually in 2022, if you were to go into their sustainability sort of goals, you would clearly see that they have said that 50% of their clothing is going to be, joint life, which is actually clothes which are created through sustainable means. So the 50% of a company which is $25 billion plus company, if it's 50% of the revenue is going to come from joint life, which is sustainable, so we know where the consumer preference is. And I've stayed in Europe and I've myself shopped at 2 different shops. We now go inside and look at the tags, and if it is a joint life tag, I have seen consumers pay that premium. So there's a clear shift happening. And the same thing we are now translating into Raymond's, both as because the retailer, because we have our own plethora of brands, whether it is Park Avenue, Raymond, Color Plus, and all that, or as a white label manufacturer, which we deal with the JCPenney's, the Express, the Gaps of the world, the global retail. And I think we are partnering with them in terms of creating a digital platform, which is cutting down the physical samples. If we are to look at purely from a process efficiency and sustainability point of view, today everybody is transforming into 3D prototyping, which is cutting down on the physical samples, so that which is again their goal of actually cutting down on the physical aspects of. So these are some of the things and examples that that I could highlight and share, Dr. Ghosh.
If,
Right.
Thank you so much.
if
Thank
I
you,
may,
Bharati.
if
May
I
I
may
invite
add-
Dr. Sorry, yes, Mr. Sreedhar.
if I may add here to the same point, fast fashion is the enemy of sustainability. If I were to say that, today fast fashion has become a trend. You want to replace clothes. So the longer you have the life of a garment, and that can only come through brand communication, media communication, campaigns done by brands, as he said rightly about Zara. That's very important today. If you really go to any website, cheap clothes, recycling is never being talked of. Circular economy is not being talked of in the fashion that it has to be done. So I suggest that the communication and media campaigns by brands will do a lot more towards the goal of sustainability. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. May I invite Dr. Shanbag to please
Yeah,
state.
thank you, Nain. I hope I'm audible now and there are
Yes,
no
yes.
problems. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. I must first congratulate NISTI for holding a very, very, very informative and very knowledgeable event today in the form of considering that it is World Environment Day, 5th of March. And what we have been subjected to through these three presentations, covering fabric, fiber, as well as final garment, a really good view of different systems by which sustainability and practices of sustainability, have been exposed, to the audience. I remember NISTI and Pearl Academy, to which Nain and I once all both belonged, and were very happy to belong to. We were the first in the country way back in 2008 to have a 2-day conference uh, with the support of AEPC. And at that time, it was very difficult for us to be able to hunt for companies in India practicing sustainability. So therefore, the whole orientation of that conference took a different turn. And we had speakers coming from overseas to share with us the practices that they had, engaged in. Yet it took a lot to convince Indian producers, manufacturers, who had even issues with effluent treatment at that time, because that was indeed in that period, the first decade of this century, the what government was pursuing, both through the environmental pollution commissions or whatever the statutes that they wanted to pursue. And it's really fantastic, basically, to hear today that the industry has come a long way. And indeed, not necessarily through the pressure of government, because I don't think actually we have that much of regulation in the country the way there is regulation in the West, or an imposition through any kind of corporate requirement of meeting targets in a certain way by a certain period of time, although there is a general adherence to UN goals. And therefore, I think what we have been exposed to today, and very pleasantly and pleasurably so, is the systematic attempt by each of these companies, and a very fine exposition by each of these presenters, Mr. Bharati, Mr. Agarwal, as well as Mr. Sreedhar, talking about how their companies are actually, engaged in practice in so many different ways, but ultimately contributing and sustaining the concept of sustainability itself. I'm not too sure whether the audience comprises enough of uh, manufacturing and corporate textile India for for them to have heard such wonderful presentations today. But the fact that there is so much potential in in fabric, there is so much potential in fiber itself, there is so much potential in garmenting itself is a great is a great reminder of what is possible. Mr. Sreedhar, you came in last once again and actually took words out of my mouth. And I was going to touch upon fast fashion as the the culprit of the day, leading to all those statistics which some of you have been able to identify and project on a global scale. Okay, in terms of and as the textile value chain is one of the most globalized value chain. You know, you know exactly what I mean. The audience knows exactly what I mean when I say that it is the most globalized value chain. And therefore, when fast fashion is the order of the day, it means that the whole of the world gets engaged in fast fashion and becomes the victim of fast fashion as far as sustainability is concerned. Because all that fast fashion contributes to is landfills, it
Absolutely.
contributes to wastage, it contributes to undesired and undesirable consumption. Governmenters may not be happy with my comments, and maybe those comments may not work well with some of the fabric manufacturers because the demand goes up for them when there is fast fashion, but fast fashion cannot sustain. And I think now there is a rethinking that is happening, particularly in Western markets, particularly after the pandemic, that fast fashion cannot be fast anymore. Okay. So I don't know whether Mr. Sreedhar agrees with this or the rest of the people agree with it. But just as globalization is reversing, I am of the view that fast fashion is also reversing because there is a huge new consumption paradigm coming into place, which the pandemic has actually leaving behind as a lesson for the whole of the world. And that is a lesson which is waiting to be picked up by all of us who belong to the textile industry in one way or the other way, either as manufacturers or policymakers or whatever, professionally. But there is this huge thing which is happening, a churn. A churn is happening in the textile industry. It is going to affect consumption, and therefore it is also going to affect or in a certain way contribute to attaining sustainability a bit faster. And I hope that all manufacturers can at least pursue one cause, and that is to tone down fast fashion. That's my
Absolutely.
comment.
Perfect.
Dr. Shanbag. Um, I think you've really summarized all the three presentations almost. So I'm sure there are some questions also from the audience, and I'm going to present that to you. I would like all the three presenters to please also add chip in. So Mr. Deepak Gupta has a question on how the industry is moving from non-sustainable to sustainable material. I think he's interested in statistics, he says. So yes, we have heard what your industry is doing, but do you have any statistics to prove how it was, let's say, before you started the practice, and how in what areas can you give us some understanding of what is the improvement?
Let me take that question. And of course, there are no industry statistics that we may have, but I can only say generally what's happening in the industry today. People are moving towards post-consumer waste. People are moving towards post-industrial waste, comb burn oils and fat strips being used for open and yarn and other things. People are moving towards PET bottle recycled polyester. People are moving to Forward Stewardship Council viscose. People are moving towards organic cotton, all organic cotton certifications. People are moving towards BCI cotton. So this is the way forward where people are going towards in terms of sustainability, in terms of raw material areas. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you.
So to add to that,
Yes, Laura.
Mr. Sreedhar has said, so what we believe that everything starts from sustainable materials. So we have also started our initiative and how we can use the waste, the cellulosic waste, and reuse it back into the fiber, and how we can also reduce our reliance on the virgin resources. So as Mr. Sreedhar said and Mr. Bharati, that now the world is moving towards those sustainable materials, towards circular economy, and how we can reuse and recycle those things for a better consumption, and I mean to reduce those consumption of natural resources.
Right. Thank you. And there's another question on any resource link. So we would what we can do as NISTI is we will collect these resource links, perhaps from our presenters and otherwise, and we can send that to you. So do stay tuned in, and that maybe later you can send us your contact. A question from Dr. Lal. Can you throw light on virtual fashion, which is one of the major steps towards sustainability? So any speakers would like to talk about that?
So I'll talk about that. Virtual fashion, I mentioned briefly in our presentation that the 3D sampling is actually linked to the virtual sample. In fact, I remember 2 years ago, Dr. Koshi and we did a seminar on the virtual fashion under the aegis of Vista. And so we have now, I mean, coming in the real world, today I can, without taking the names, I can say that the adoption rate from a global retail perspective is going anywhere from 30% to 50 and on the higher side of adoption for 3D and virtual fashion. And I think what Professor Vinod mentioned, the pandemic has only accelerated the adoption to 3D sample, which actually came in as a necessity, and it is now the new hygiene. It started because people could not travel, so you had to actually create 3D samples, you had to create virtual fashion, and it has just accelerated. And there are a lot of companies which are working on it, and there's a massive interest by the consumers. And again, the DTC brands are making full use of the virtual technology in bringing products very fast and managing the demand. So it's happening and it's being used and it is very sustainable, and we are doing it as we speak.
Nian, I just want to add.
Nain, can I come in on this matter, on this subject?
Dr. Shanbhag, please. Dr.
Well, it's an interesting idea, the virtual fashion, but basically, if today sustainability is about, about textile materials and textile inputs and textile outputs, it just shifts sustainability issues from textiles to electronics. I think that we have even more problem in relation to electronics from the kind of IT consumption that is taking place worldwide, okay, and the IT dumping that is taking place worldwide. So virtual is not going to be a solution to sustainability. It is a technical change in terms of in terms of manufacture and such other processes within the textile value chain. It does not solve the issues of sustainability.
So that's a different stand by Dr. Shanbhag. Yes, Dr. Koshi.
I just wanted to tell, actually buttress the point which Manish made. There is something called SAC, Sustainable Apparel Coalition. There are, to my best mind, 160 companies which are part of it. And they have very strict, monitoring of 5 parameters on sustainability of these brands. And it is done through the technique, or you can say system called HIG index, HIGG index. The HIG index labels are used by all these 160 plus manufacturers and brands. So I think, they wouldn't have done it if there was not enough demand. So this also answers the first 2 questions. Without a demand-driven approach, these brands won't be investing so much of monitoring into, this dimension. So you can be rest assured that what Manish said is a clear indication that more customers are certainly paying attention. And I think all the speakers are aligned on that area. There's a higher awareness and the companies are responding to it.
There is something else which is also happening and which is something that we need to take into account in terms of looking at sustainability issues 10 to 15 years or 20 years ahead. And that is the demographic inversion which the world is going through. The pyramid is getting inverted slowly. It is going to be inverted in India also. It is inverting in the West, which is the major consumer of textiles, fabrics, garments, so on and so forth. The inverted pyramid means that the consumption of textiles is going to lower at a very fast pace because you don't spend on clothing, you spend on health, you spend on medicines, and you spend on recreation of which is a requirement at that in that age group and so on and so forth. And therefore there is the possibility that because of demographic change, okay, sustainability issues will take a different turn altogether.
Thank you.
I have one
Mr.
point to
Sreedhar,
make here.
yes.
Yeah, I have one point to make here. It's actually an experience that we had. We launched a digital denim website, and talking of this virtual thing, where in this website we give an access to all the people who want to use KG Fabriks. There, the highlights is not only the sample folder visible in a fabric form, it's visible in a garment form. It's also visible in a 3D draping format, where we had a collaboration with a startup from IIT Madras. And this has reduced my sampling yardages being sent by nearly 50%. So this sustainability in sampling also achieved there by KG Fabriks, and this we did it post-COVID. It actually forced us to do this, and we are happy about it.
Thank you. That's a wonderful example. There's another question. We have a few more questions to go. So I would request all those who want to answer, if you raise your hand, I can see you on the screen. Otherwise, we are getting a little confused. Kuldeep sir. Yes, boliye.
It has been a good event considering the innovation and sustainability, the two factors which we have been discussing for the last 4 decades in textile value chain. By being exposed to the textile value chain for the 4.5 decades, but I have seen a perspective has changed in all the decades. If we are talking of 3 decades before, it was innovation. We were asking industry to move ahead with the innovation for survival. Now, when we are talking in this decade, last decade, we are talking of ESG compliances for sustainability issues. Now, this is a welcome. Any perspective by the expert speakers or the present here in the participants present over here? What could be the perspective beyond this? And after ESG, what we are, because under compulsion, we have been looking into these aspects. So if we think in terms of our responsiveness towards the next generation, environment, we have already started seeing it, and we have already sensed our responsible role for the coming generation and society and doing justice for it. Is there any shift going to be there? A perspective in this regard will be welcome. And thank you very much, Neil.
Thank you, Kuldeep ji. There are some very important questions and very interesting questions. So let's go through that. There's a question on home textiles. The sustainability practice or applicability in home textiles. Would you like to answer that?
Who is this addressed to?
I guess because you are manufacturers of fabrics or processes, would you be able to do that? Yes, yes, Mr.
Home textiles or denim or any other fabric, the sustainability concepts are the same. So it's not going to change. The process of attaining sustainability are the same, whether you do it with energy, water, or whatever it is. So there is no shift in the product per se that you are going to talk of, whether it is home textiles or denims or shirt material or bottom weights. That's not going to change. That's my take on that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Raj Pandey, I hope that answers your questions or your inquiry. There's a question by Ganesh Pawar on use of nanotechnology for sustainable textiles. Would you be able to answer, or anyone who would be? Okay.
Okay. Let me take that. Nanotechnology, of course, is being used by a lot of people who want to get into a sustainable manufacturing. What does nanotechnology do is, in a very layman terminology, tells that we use less of the chemicals that is being involved. And yes, nanotechnology is going to come in the future in a big way. Like a couple of examples I would like to say. Recently, there is a talk about carbon dioxide dyeing technology which doesn't use water. Okay. There is a talk about product marking technology based on DNA by one company. So some technology uses carbon dioxide as a medium. Some technology does not use water as a medium. So spin dye technology doesn't use water as a medium. It tries to do fiber dyeing. So all these are going to use concepts of nanotechnology and take this forward. Definitely technology has got a role to play with in future.
Right, thank you. There's a question by Dushan Parekh on the specifically for Gaurav, the input output norm, say for 100 kg of cellulose waste, how much of viscose can you get out of that? Is that clear, Gaurav?
Yeah, it is clear, but I will request Mr. Dushan Parekh to connect on this separate.
All right. So, Mr. Parekh, you may like to connect with Gaurav separately. Okay. Okay, a very interesting statement by Ahmed. The joined life tag on Zara is only limited to the tag and not to the garment of Zara. I think that really is a statement. And is it true?
No, it's not true. I think I mentioned that is not at all true. It's a very strict audit procedure that
Yes.
Zara follows. Anybody who produces for Inditex and knows about it. So it's not just for the namesake, and it's a massive volume that we are talking about. And coming to what Dr. Shanbag was mentioning, I think the whole perspective on the fast fashion going into slow fashion mode, I mean, these are things which are being talked about. And I think the key issue is that which somebody was mentioning in the thing is that how can fast fashion become sustainable? And that's what Zara or the other fashion companies are trying to do. That while you want to sell more, you want to sell quick, but how do you actually sell something which is sustainable? And which is what I think what Gaurav and Sreedhar also and myself mentioned. It's about your philosophy, about your culture, and how you're going to actually produce these products, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is process, and how do you actually address some of these things. And consumer will take into account. I mean, consumer is the best judge as to what will happen at the end of the day. And they will reward or they will not reward the company if you are not going to be in that direction.
Thank you, Manish.
Yeah, that's true, because Join Life is a big program. They don't just give a tag. They have very strict protocols to be followed from the raw material. So it's not only just for garment. Right from the raw material, getting nominated to a Join Life program in itself is a big task. Then the entire process is being driven through their corporate guidelines, and then only for a particular garment or a design they will be giving a Joint Life tags.
Right. This is a very provocative question, I think, and we all need to really think through it. Kiran is asking if all the certification is done by international buyers and test agencies. I guess this is about sustainability. And they, of course, charge a huge amount of money. Well, I don't know about that. But why not Indian test parameters test agency? Is that existing? Is it really valid?
Well, you see, my view on this is that I think fashion is a global business. So just to think that that we are either Indian or this is being done from somebody outside, I don't think we look at from that point of view. It's a matter of, a lot of things have evolved. I know in my previous companies where I worked with a global company where a lot of feedback came from the Indian teams that were working on the ground and which were taken into cognizance in terms of improving the whole system or the whole ecosystem. So of course there are certain, because we are talking when we are talking of, let's say, exports or consumption, we are looking at Western retail or retailers in the developed world, so-called. So obviously if you are supplying to them, you are looking at certain standards and protocols that they want to look at. But I mean, of course, today we are also a retailer. We also sell our own products. And when we take the products from different other companies, we look at our own ways of assessing the whole sourcing and the other supply chain.
Right. Thank you. I hope that is really in the, let's say we too will become global soon, our agencies, and I hope we are there soon. Okay, another question from Sharad Nigam. What certifications are required for recycled products and sustainable products? So are they both different or are they the single certification?
No, For the recycled products, you have what is called the RCS, GRS, the Global Recycled, and the what do you call content recycled programs.
Yeah, GRS and GC, I mean, recycled content standard.
GRS and
RCS.
RCS. RCS are the recycled thing, whereas for the organic stuff, where it's the natural stuff, you have the GOTS and OCS, that is organic content
Standard.
certification. So there are different certifications for both.
Right. You know, sirs, all those who presented today, there's so much to learn and there's so many details I think our participants here want to know. It is not going to be possible to do it all today, but let me sort of ask you guys whether you can come individually and give a whole lecture for an hour explaining many things, giving information. That would be wonderful, and we hope you would find time to do that in future. But some more, just few more questions. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, we can nominate a few people in the company, both in textile and garmenting. We have some great professionals working in the company who actually helped me put this through, and there are domain experts, while I oversee the business, the overall thing, but there are experts in the team who are sort of very well clued on and very capable people in the team who can come in and take on a lot of these things.
Wonderful.
That would be wonderful. One more question for Mr. Sreedhar. What all blends KG Fabric is able to develop in different recycled fiber composition?
Nian, you have seen also Dr. Ravu and Rahul Chawla raising hands.
Oh, I am not able to see. Sorry.
For quite some time, in fact.
Yeah. Okay. Can Mr. Sreedhar answer this question, and then I will come back to you.
See, we recycle polyester. We do it right from 5% up to 40%. So there's no blends can be done in whatever proportion can be that is required. We add viscose also. We give viscose based denims also. So these are the major thing. Tencels are another thing, which are again sustainable fibers which are used and given in blend compositions as per the requirement. That's not an issue.
Thank you. Dr. Rao, may I invite you for your question or your statement?
I have one observation and one clarification. First of all, let me thank NISTI for having arranged an excellent webinar on a weekend. It was very informative. My observation is with reference to there is a query on nanotech. Now, when we talk about the nanotech, one has to be very careful in the sense that the particle size is so small that it can get even absorbed through your skin. Like the way in 1970s when polymers were brought up in a big way, people were saying that it's going to do a big revolution, but today we have a big problem because of plastics, polymers. So similarly, these nanotech also may lead to some kind of complications, especially health-related issues. So one has to be doubly careful when we recommend nanotech. That is my observation. The second point is we talk about recycling. Now, for example, in the case of viscose, I understand that 20% of fabrics are used as a substitute for wood pulp in the manufacturing of viscose. Now, I would like to get more clarity on this because when you are using 20% of fabric waste as a raw material for viscose manufacturing, obviously you will have to do some sort of a processing to get it absorbed in the regular viscose manufacturing. So to what extent the energy is consumed there? So when you say that you're recycling, what is the net effect of substituting that by 20%? I suppose my point is very clear. Once you say recycling also calls for certain inputs, especially energy, chemicals, and things like that. So what is the net benefit by putting 20% in place of wood pulp?
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rao. Rahul Chawla had raised his hands, but he's not around. Are you around, Rahul? If you'd like to answer, but I see your answer already stated in the chat, and I'm going to read out because it is about the international certification. Yes, Rahul, you're there. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, I'm out for my COVID test, so Apologies for the noise around me. Speaking of the test and certifications, I kind of disagree because most of the international bodies have their own Indian entities who are helping the Indian companies. So that should solve it. And in terms of the prices and their competitiveness, that's quite subjective as to what the certification is, what the situation actually is. So it's hard to make any comment on that part. Another comment on sustainability itself is the new topic of traceability, which is really, really catching up. I would say most of the companies in the US, France, and Germany are looking into it because they have enacted laws around it. So that's something really coming up, and the Indian company should, brace around that part and start working on it, because that's coming next 2 years. Every single company in the supply chain will have to abide by the laws which are built around traceability. Thanks.
Thank you. That's a great tip for all the garment companies, fabric companies as well. I'm going to use this as the last question because, there are many more still trickling in, but this is a very important question. Vaishnavi says, how can consumer be part of sustainability? Because at the same time, they want to be a part of the fast fashion. So what would you advise?
I would just say that, repeating myself, that today consumer is already a part of sustainable journey. I mean, trust me, people are very well aware. They are looking at various parameters when they are buying things. So they are, in my view, they are already there. They're already there. It is happening, and they are giving rewards to the companies who are bringing them, sustainable products. So my perspective that the consumer is already part of that journey now.
I think we have to take into account, Nain, the fact that we have been a conservatively cultured nation, in which sustainability has been intrinsic to our culture because of recycling and reusing and all kinds of things. Just textiles, the amount of reusage of textiles that takes place in the rural areas is something which the West can't at all fathom. But that's part of our culture. The textiles that we as urbanites, disuse and throw away, go into 8 tires of usage. Okay, and how vessel dealers and plastic dealers and so on and so forth exchange clothes for all these kinds of manufacturers. And in my study, I have found that it goes down through 8 tires of purchasing, right? So. What has happened in our country is, yes, we got compelled into considering about sustainability because our exports required that to be incorporated. Okay, and the moment exports began to become a major, part of the business of a company, it became very commonplace for the company to adopt sustainable practices throughout the company instead of for the 10% or the 20% or the 30% of the manufacturers which went into exported sales, right? So that's been the kind of process. But when you come to consumption in India, when you come to consumers in India, I think sustainability is there. It is there even amongst the young. I find a lot of people. I'm part of a youth university, right? And I find that the people, the children there in design or outside design do talk about sustainability, right? So in a sense, this is a growing phenomenon in terms of understanding, because I think the young today understand, the limitations of our planet much more than anyone else. And this is something which is a very positive, facet of India's youth, the understanding of the limitations of this planet. So we do not have fast fashion the way fast fashion exists in the West, right? We just do not have fast fashion the way fast fashion exists in the West.
I think just to add, I would say that yes, while the fast fashion term was used in a certain context of bringing fashion fast to the consumer. Now, point is that you could still bring the fashion in a fast way, but maybe in a responsible way. So I would say that responsible fashion is actually the way forward, and which is now built into all the conscious companies, you know.
Thank you. Thank you all. I would just like to now summarize in few words, because that has already been done. But what I would really like to point out also is some of these areas which are, I know, of great interest to a lot of our student participants over here. And I would request the companies to please, we'll be in touch with you so that we could figure out how this could be taken across to students.
Sure,
We did hear and understood the context to the sustainable practices in the respective textile value chain in respective companies and products. We also, so I'm not going to name it, but I know there are a few things that I want to mention in each company, which I sort of felt was really of interest to us. There was, you talked about various adoptions or adaptations at in certain areas of sustainability, the implementation in the process. But more than that too, you pointed out many challenges which helped us understand why things changed. And of course, whether these sustainable adaptations were successful. But going by what you're talking about, you're not only in the process of, the process is ongoing, but you're talking about really every company in the future is going to be answerable to what is expected in sustainability. And so thank you all for opening up this to us. But let me start with Mr. Sreedhar for KG Fabriks. I think we would really be keen to know a little bit more about the redesign of the jeans. I think it is
Jeans redesign program. Yeah.
Yes. And what did that mean? The Ellen MacArthur Foundation, but perhaps not now. We would like to definitely know a lot more about that. With Gaurav, there are these, you talked about responsible sourcing. We couldn't go into detail about that, but of course, these are things that we would really be more keen to know, because sourcing starts, a lot of things start at sourcing. And then talking about partnerships, which I think is ultimately, that's the future, collaborating at various levels with different people. We would probably be more keen to know about that. Whereas where Manish is involved, I think I really was fascinated by saying women in leadership. There are many women present here. I hope you women raise your voice and say, yes, we want to know more. What are you doing about it? How is it going to happen ever? Are you going to look beyond just selecting the leaders, or are you looking at even taking interest in the training stage? And a lot about the way people, the business and people sustainability are so interlinked, or all this process has to be interlinked. You can't be looking at sustainability in silos. And this is what we understood from your presentation. So we look forward to more such information. As for participants, your questions were very thought-provoking. If we had more time, I'm sure you would have put in more questions. And I'm sorry if I've not addressed some questions, because we really are short of time. But now I'd like to invite Dr. Vijay Yadav to give the vote of thanks. Okay, are there any raised hands? I don't know, I keep on saying something. All right, Dr. Vijay Yadav. Dr. Yadav, I am not sure if you're here.
Go ahead, Nain. You can thank everyone here.
All right. I'd just like to first of all thank our speakers. You brought in a lot of information. You brought in life to sustainability. Otherwise, sustainability is getting a little stagnant for us. And we are very happy to hear your industries are going ahead. So much is happening. And
Vijay has come back.
Great. So that means great future for all of us. Dr. Vijay Yadav, please the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Nain. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of NISTI and all its members, I offer my deep gratitude to all the speakers for the graceful and the enriching words. Thank you, Mr. Sreedhar, Mr. Gaurav, Agarwal, both from my alma mater family as well. Mr. Manish Bharati, being an astute corporate leader. I thank their respective companies, KG Fabriks, division of Kanapiran Group, Raymond Limited, and the Aditya Birla Group for their support. I thank all the 130 plus participants who joined today, both from India and abroad, and making it a global success. I would like to thank the experts as discussants, Dr. Darli Koshi, the current chairman of NISTI, and Dr. Vinod Shanbag, the immediate past chairman of NISTI, for their critical thoughts and keeping the ball rolling. I thank Professor Nin Xiao for moderating the webinar and of course, connecting every thread in bringing it to a successful culmination. I thank the institutional members of NISTI, the Technological Institute of Technical Textiles and Sciences, Bhiwani, and Panipat Institute of Engineering and Technology, Panipat. I thank the media partners, Mr. K. Gopal Krishnan at the Textile Magazine, Mr. Jigar Shah at the Fiber to Fashion, Mrs. Jigna at the Textile Value Chain, Mr. Manoj Sinha at Expo Asia, for their spontaneous support and for the wide publicity. I would fail in my duty if I do not mention Mr. Amrish Fanse, the ex-professionals at Fiber to Fashion, Dr. Rajat Baldua, and Professor K.N. Chatterjee, who were instrumental for all the backstage activities and the minute discussion leading to this webinar. Special thanks to all the NISTI fraternity for their unrelenting support. I once again thank all the speakers for their valuable thoughts and the time. I take this opportunity to invite you and request you to register for the upcoming international conference on technical textiles on 12th of March, next Saturday. It is being held by CII in support with NISTI. We have speakers both from Indian and international arena, which would be speaking on all spheres of technical textiles. As we come out of the COVID pandemic, we are obliged to have presence of large number of audience today. My heartfelt gratitude to all of them once again. May the Almighty keep every one of us blessed and rejuvenated. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Let me have the last word, please. I would like to thank Dr. Vijay Yadav, without whom a lot of things would not have happened. The honorary secretary and treasurer of NISTI registered. So thank you very much, Dr. Yadav.
Thank you, madam.
Have a good weekend, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.